What's going on today, folks? Hope everybody's doing well. In today's video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at how to do sidechain compression when you have a drum kit that has multiple hits that you want to compress on. We're gonna still build off the idea of the default template, the clips, the saving everything into racks, components. But yeah, and you know, this all just kind of is the idea of if you've ever been in a band or anything, like jamming, right? Like that's what this whole clip thing is supposed to be. It's like you're jamming, you're finding that idea, and you're just building it, and you're having a good time. And yeah, well, again, thank you for watching, and enjoy the video. Bye. All right, so let's actually, we got a blank template, we got our default template, we got our sends, we got our drum rack, we got our audio, we got our MIDI. We're ready to go. Didn't have to set up any of that, and let's just begin. Let's bring in some drum beats. You know, just stuff that we already have. Let's bring in these new beats that I made like a week ago, just for fun, and they were kind of in the last video, but yeah. So now we just have our beats, right? Let's turn this down a little bit. Turn it down just ever so slightly. Okay, and now you know what are we gonna do next? We're building our groove. Let's go to again. Let's try some bass lines, right? Let's see. Let's do this Disco Project bass guitar. Maybe that's cool. Let's see. Okay, you know. Getting a very, very good house vibe right now, but maybe that's not what I want. But again, with these groups, I re-emphasize that, you know, you have all these songs, right? And usually the way people write songs is they write it, they start it, they finish it, they put it out, you know, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, and then the parts just sit. And for a lot of people, you know, you never have that big hit, or you haven't had one yet. But, you know, these parts of these songs are just sitting somewhere, you know, just waiting to be used. There's a story that you kind of hear sometimes about, you know, like producers and studios where they're working on an album, and they'll use like a clip from like 2 years ago that was never used or people didn't really like, and then in this particular instance with this other arrangement it really shines. So, you know, I encourage just to, when you're writing the track, arrangement view, clip view, doesn't matter, just save it into a rack and you can reuse it. So on this particular one, I'm not going to use that bass line. Let's just use this contra bass in G, right? Or G sharp. But yeah, so we have this now. And one of the things with doing stuff in kind of clip mode, and this can also apply to arrangement view, is a lot of the times we want a sidechain compressor. And we want it on our bass lines, especially because we want it to duck out of the way for the kick so it sounds very full and they're not competing in the same frequency space. So in most traditional senses, what you would do is you have your track, right? You just go to a compressor, audio effects, compressor, you open this up, you sidechain, you pick the drum kit or whatever sound you want it to sidechain compression on, and then you do this. Right, you bring down the levels, you get the pumping feeling, you turn up the volume to balance out the compression. All is super nifty in the world. But when you're doing it with clips, a lot of the times, like in the one kit, I have so many different drum kits, I can't sidechain to every, well, I mean I can, but then I would have to add a compressor for every sidechain that I wanted, and that's just messy. But there's another way to do it that works in arrangement view and clip view, and it's using a ghost kick. And the idea of a ghost kick is it's just not heard, but it still can affect other sounds in your composition. So for this one, right, we have a ghost kick. Oh, and you do actually need a sample to actually do it. It actually needs to have some sort of audio. So if I just bring in an empty rack and let's just look up a kick, right? Let's go to samples, 808 kick, fine. It really doesn't matter because you're not going to listen to it. And then, here, let me close this. From here now we have this ghost kick track, which is basically just a MIDI track with a drum rack and one sample. So one of the things that I recommend doing is just actually taking the clip that you're going to be looping and working with, and in the same horizontal space, put that kick there. So from here, and we don't need any of the other things. All we need is the kick, right? So now we have the 808 kick being used as our side chain. So now if we play it, and we turn this off real quick, let's just stop this. You can hear that we have this 808 kick, but all you have to do is just turn it off. That's all you have to do. But now if you go back into the disco bass, or whatever bass you're using, or the instrument, the massive contrabass. Instead of doing it from the 1, we're actually going to sidechain from our ghost click track, and we're going to use the 808 kick. So now you can see that it's pumping and giving us that pumping sidechain compression feel, and it's using another kick. It's decoupled from the 1 drum kit, the kit that's going to have multiple drums and stuff like that. And if you have different drum patterns and different clips, again, just drag them over, and then just, all you really want is the kick. But say you have like, a breakdown or, a build up, and you want it to sidechain on that, just bring it over and just put it on the 808 in the pattern that you want, and and then it'll sidechain. And then, so that's all nifty and fine. That's great. You can also do this in arrangement view if you have a kit that has multiple components that you want to sidechain, like timing wise, right? But another thing, so now if we scoot this over, and this is kind of the clutch part, is if we group these tracks, right? And we're just going to call this drums and ghost, right? Now, if we push this button, it'll actually fire the kick with the pattern that the audible kick and the drum kit are in, with the ghost kick having the same bass kick pattern that's affecting the bass line sidechain compression, which is really great. So if I switch like clips right now and I have different kicks, different drums that I want it to sidechain to, I just bring those patterns over to the ghost kick. Say I want to sidechain on the snare, not the kick, then bring over the pattern for the snare, move it in. You can use the 808 to hit and just use the pattern and just sidechain it. It all works. It's freaking great. And then when it's combined, if you use a push or any kind of gear where spaces can be constrained, it collapses it to one track. So when you fire your drums, it automatically fires the ghost kick track, and it works. It works great, and then you get your sidechain, and you can do this on multiple like tracks, and you can have multiple ghost tracks if you want to. You can use multiple ghost tracks in a same track and turn off the compressor off and on, so some parts it only like sidechains to the kick, or other parts just sidechain to the compressor. But I get so excited. But it's all up to you. There's a lot of power in what you can do, and I just hope that that you have fun doing it. Again, always, thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring-a-ding-ding, notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye. Okay, and let's do this.